You know that feeling, right? When you've got all these different software tools and getting them to actually talk to each other feels, well, impossible. Like they're speaking totally different languages.
Oh yeah, it's a common frustration. It can be a real headache.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into something designed to fix exactly that. Xuda API integrations. They're meant to be this kind of universal translator.
That's a great way to put it. Think of the Xuda API as maybe the central nervous system for the whole Xuda platform.
Okay.
And these integrations, they're like the nerve pathways. They let all the different parts of Xuda and even outside services communicate, share information really seamlessly.
Making things work together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Intelligently, not just bumping into each other.
And just for anyone maybe newer to this, Xuda itself, it's a pretty advanced platform, right, for building, deploying applications.
Yes, state of the art, really. It's got tools for orchestration, keeping things running smoothly, and even a marketplace with components you can just plug in.
The big goal being to shake up how we build, launch, and scale apps. Make it easier.
Make it much more efficient, yeah. And the real key to unlocking that efficiency and, frankly, a lot more capability is understanding these Xuda API integrations.
Right.
They really empower you, the learner, to connect different bits of functionality in ways that create truly customized and, well, streamlined workflows.
So for this deep dive, we've looked at details about the APIs, the integrations, and the platform overall.
We've distilled excerpts covering both the specifics of the API integrations and the broader Xuda platform context.
Okay, so our mission today is pretty clear then. We want to pull out the core benefits, the real power, the possibilities that these Xuda API integrations unlock.
Exactly. Make it super clear how this stuff can translate into actual tangible advantages for, well, whatever you're working on.
Perfect. Let's get into it then. The Xuda API.
Yeah.
What makes it so central, so fundamental to the platform?
Well, it really is the cornerstone. You could call it the engine room. It's designed from the ground up to be, first off, expansive.
Right.
It covers a huge amount of ground. It's flexible, so it can adapt. And it's powerful, giving developers real control.
And built for growth.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Scalability is key. Adaptability, too, so it evolves. And crucially, ease of use. They want to lower the barrier for developers to actually use this power.
So it's not just like a simple connection point for apps to swap a bit of data. It's deeper than that.
Much deeper. It's really designed to let developers tap into the full potential of the entire Xuda ecosystem, whether you're building something totally new or maybe enhancing systems you already have, or even setting up complex multi-step processes. The API gives you the tools.
Like a foundation for building interconnected solutions, not just standalone apps.
Precisely. Interconnected solutions, that's the goal.
Okay, that sounds really promising. But what about when things get really busy? Real-world applications. Sometimes they have thousands, millions of users, huge data flows. How does the API cope under that kind of pressure?
Yeah, good question. And that's where its robustness and scalability really shine. It's engineered specifically to maintain high reliability, high performance, even when it's under significant load.
So it doesn't just fall over when traffic spikes.
Exactly. It can process really large volumes of data, manage many, many concurrent users without creating those performance bottlenecks we all hate. It's built to be resilient. Think of it like a highway designed for rush hour.
Avoiding those digital traffic jams.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And its architecture supports distributed systems.
Meaning
different parts of your application can communicate smoothly, even if they're running on totally different servers, maybe even in different places.
Ah, okay.
So imagine managing, say, thousands of users hitting your service all at once, or dealing with a constant flood of complex data streams. The API is built to handle that. It provides that stable, efficient foundation.
And that stable foundation, that then allows for building more specific things, right? Tailored solutions.
Exactly. Because let's face it, off-the-shelf rarely fits perfectly, does it? Every business, every project has its own unique wrinkles, its own challenges. So the Xuda API gives developers the power to create these highly customized solutions that directly hit those specific business needs.
How does it do that? What's the mechanism?
It comes down to its modular design and, importantly, its huge number of endpoints.
Endpoints, like specific connection points or controls.
That's a great way to think of them, like specific levers or dials developers can use to interact with different features or data.
Okay.
And because there are so many of these endpoints, developers can really craft bespoke workflows, unique sequences of actions, and implement very specific logic for how data is processed.
So you can build integrations that fit your operations like a glove, not a mitten.
Yeah, exactly, like a perfectly tailored suit. not just something off the rack.
Can you give us a concrete example? Where could this really make a difference?
Sure. Think about logistics, a complex supply chain. Using the Xuda API, a developer could build a real-time tracking system. It could pull in data through different API endpoints from GPS trackers on trucks, maybe inventory systems in warehouses, even weather feeds,
Wow, all integrated.
all integrated to provide this really customized, up-to-the-minute view of the whole operation. You just couldn't get that level of granular detail and control with a generic solution. The API enables that precision.
That makes sense. So very specific solutions within Xuda, but what about connecting outside the Xuda world? How well does it play with others? Interoperability.
That's another major strength. It's designed with interoperability baked in, meaning it integrates smoothly with a whole range of other platforms, services, tools. We're talking third-party APIs,
Yeah.
integration points from other companies, external data sources, cloud services like AWS or Azure. It's not just locked into its own ecosystem.
So it's not a walled garden. It can actually reach out and talk to the wider digital world.
Definitely not a walled garden. And that, of course, opens up a huge range of possibilities for adding functionality for automation.
Like what? Give me an example.
Okay, well, the API can be used to automatically provision new deployments.
Spin up new copies of an application.
Exactly. Maybe in response to a sudden surge in user traffic, or maybe based on some business trigger. That kind of dynamic scaling, triggered by an API call, that's interoperability in action. It's really powerful for managing resources efficiently.
I can see that. What else? Any other examples of this external integration?
Well, it can streamline internal tasks too. Imagine automatically adding a new employee to all the relevant user groups inside Xuda and your HR system at the same time through one integrated process.
Okay, that saves time.
Definitely. Or something even more powerful. Businesses can use the API to create white label subsystems.
Meaning,
They can offer custom branded solutions to their own customers, but powered by Xuda's backend infrastructure and API integrations working silently behind the scenes.
wow. Okay, so the API could genuinely act as the central hub, connecting all the different tech pieces a business uses.
That's the vision, a unified, interconnected digital environment where everything works together smoothly.
Now, all this talk of integration, customization, it sounds great, but maybe a bit complex. What about the developers actually doing the work? Is it a nightmare to build and maintain these things?
That's a fair question. Developer time is precious.
Right. Is the API designed with them in mind? To be efficient to work with?
Absolutely. Developer efficiency is a core design principle.
How so?
Several ways. First, really comprehensive, well-organized documentation for all those endpoints. Makes it clear how to use them.
Okay, good docs are key.
Absolutely. Yeah. Second, they provide SDKs, software development kits. These are like pre-built toolkits, code libraries in different languages that help developers get up and running much faster, like having ready-made building blocks.
So less time figuring out the basics, more time actually building the integration.
Exactly. And to smooth things out further, there's robust error handling and debugging support built in. Helps developers find and fix issues quickly during development.
Faster deployment cycles.
Yes. And beyond just the coding part, the API is huge for workflow automation.
Right, automation. Always good for productivity. How does the API help there?
It lets developers automate repetitive tasks, optimize backend processes.
Mm-hmm.
For example, you could automate your entire deployment pipeline.
From code check-in to going live?
Yep, all orchestrated through API calls. Or, like we touched on, integrating with internal user management to automatically handle access and permissions.
Okay.
That kind of automation saves a ton of manual effort, reduces errors, and frees up developers for more, strategic thinking.
Huge productivity boost, potentially. Now, whenever you connect systems and automate things, the big questions always come up: security and reliability. How does the Xuda API stack up there?
They're absolutely fundamental. Can't build integrations without them.
For sure.
So on the security side, it uses industry standards like OAuth 2.0 for authentication. Make sure only authorized apps and users get access.
Okay, standard stuff, but essential. Essential, yes. It also uses token-based access control for more fine-grained permissions management. And, of course, data encryption both in transit and at rest. Multiple layers of security.
Built in from the start, not bolted on later.
Absolutely. Which makes it suitable for industries with really strict compliance needs, right?
Yeah.
Finance, healthcare. Data security there is non-negotiable.
Makes sense. And reliability. keeping it
And
running.
engineered for high availability. That means redundancy backup systems ready to go, failover mechanisms automatically switching to backups if there's a problem, and continuous real-time monitoring to catch potential issues early.
Proactive monitoring.
Exactly. It's designed to be a rock-solid, dependable foundation you can build critical integrations on.
So secure and dependable. Got it. Now let's look ahead a bit. What about innovation? Does the API support, more cutting-edge stuff? AI?
It does. It's designed to be forward-looking. It supports advanced features and, yes, integrating AI-driven enhancements.
Developers can use API endpoints to plug in machine learning models, natural language processing NLP capabilities, predictive analytics directly into their applications.
Making the app smarter.
Exactly. More intelligent, more sophisticated solutions.
Can you give a practical example of integrating AI via the API?
Sure. Imagine an e-commerce site. It could use the API to connect to a machine learning model that analyzes customer browsing and purchase history.
Okay.
And based on that analysis, it could deliver highly personalized product recommendations in real time, right back through the API to the user screen.
Enhancing the shopping experience, boosting sales.
Potentially, yes. Or think about customer support. An automated system using NLP, integrated via the API, could understand the intent behind a customer's typed question and provide a much more relevant, helpful automated answer.
Ah, I see. That could be a competitive edge.
Definitely. Staying ahead of the curve.
Now, you mentioned the Xuda marketplace earlier. How do these API integrations fit into that picture?
Right, the marketplace. It's basically a hub, isn't it? Full of pre-built apps, tools, plugins, all designed to extend what Xuda can do.
Mm-hmm.
And very often, the API integrations we've been talking about are the actual foundation for those marketplace offerings. Developers build these tools by using the Automated API to talk to the platform's core features and connect to other services.
So the API is like the plumbing that lets all those marketplace apps connect and work.
That's a perfect analogy. It's the underlying infrastructure. And for you, the user, the marketplace can be a massive accelerator.
How so?
Well, instead of building every single integration from the ground up, you can often find a pre-built app or plugin in the marketplace that already uses the necessary API connections. Saves a huge amount of time and effort.
Leveraging the community's work.
Exactly. It's a way to tap into the collective power of the Xuda developer ecosystem.
Makes total sense. Okay, let's connect this back to how applications actually get delivered on Xuda. You mentioned different deployment options, user groups, PWAs, public pages. How do APIs relate to that flexibility?
They play a really crucial role in managing and enhancing those options.
Okay.
So whether you're pushing an app out just to a specific team, using user group deployment, or building a progressive web app or a public website, or even a native mobile app that talks to the Xuda backend, the API provides the hooks.
Hooks for what?
Hooks to manage different aspects of that deployment. For instance, with those user group deployments, you could use the API to dynamically control who has access, what permissions they have within that specific application instance.
So it's not just about the app's internal logic, but also how it's managed and accessed externally.
Precisely. And that ties into the hosting aspect too, right?
Yeah.
Xuda provides the infrastructure.
Right. Flexible, scalable hosting, global data centers.
And the API integrations are key to optimizing how apps perform and scale within that hosting environment. Remember the dynamic scaling we talked about?
Yeah, spinning up resources based on demand.
That's done through API calls interacting with the underlying hosting infrastructure. The API is like the intelligent control layer.
So it's all tightly woven together, the app logic, the integrations, connecting things, and the hosting environment itself.
Exactly. A seamless system.
And one last scenario. What about those bigger organizations, maybe with strict security needs, who might use the branded version of Xuda on their own local network? Do the APIs work the same way there?
That's important to clarify.
Yeah.
Yes, even within that kind of locally hosted on-premise Xuda environment, the API integrations function in essentially the same way.
Okay.
The core difference is just that everything, the platform, the apps, the API calls, is contained within the organization's own secure network perimeter. Provides that extra layer of control.
But the API itself still lets the different pieces within that local instance talk to each other.
Absolutely. It still enables all the communication and integration just within a more restricted, controlled environment. The power and versatility are still there.
Okay, good to know. So the deployment model doesn't fundamentally change how the APIs work. All right, let's try and wrap this up. If we had to boil it down, what's the core message here about Xuda API integrations?
The fundamental takeaway, I think, is that they offer this really powerful, incredibly versatile toolkit. It's the way you connect things, extend capabilities, build sophisticated, scalable, and highly customized solutions within that Xuda ecosystem. They're the essential building blocks.
And for you listening, for the learner, what are those key benefits to really hang on to?
For you, it means potentially faster development, right? Using good tools, maybe the marketplace. It means getting solutions that actually fit your needs because you can tailor them.
Mm.
It means seamless integration, connecting Xuda to other things you use, creating a more unified tech setup. You get robust performance, reliability you can count on.
And the exciting part.
Yeah, maybe the most exciting part is the opportunity for real innovation,
Mm.
bringing in advanced features, AI, building smarter applications.
Okay. So, thinking about everything we've discussed, here's something for you to ponder. Is there one specific area, maybe in your current work, maybe just something you're interested in, where you can now see the potential? Where could leveraging API integrations like these create something more streamlined, or maybe something genuinely new and innovative?
Definitely food for thought.
Indeed. Understanding and really using these API integrations effectively, well, it can be truly transformative. It unlocks efficiency, yes, but it also paves the way for some really exciting new possibilities in our increasingly connected digital world.